we've seen him as a Tyler City councilman, a judge, and now he's one of the big wigs. He's joining us now. He was somehow able to pencil us in his busy schedule. How does it feel like walking amongst not necessarily peasants? How do you feel?
Well, it's great to be here, and actually, this is where I feel most at home, and you know it.
Yeah.
I love coming back home, and I feel like a fish out of water in Washington D.C. when I'm up there. I feel most at home when I'm at a Friday night football game in my little hometown of White House, Texas, or when I'm grocery shopping on Saturdays for my wife in my shorts and my T-shirt. That's when I really feel most at home.
I think you were telling me moments ago before we started talking, you were telling me about how it kind of starstruck some others, or just kind of shocking to see, your congressman out and about. How does it feel to walk into a room and everyone knows who you are?
Well, I love it because it actually is talking about the relationships that I've had for 50 years now. I turned 52 this year, and I've spent 50 of those 52 years in Tyler and the East Texas area, and it's so wonderful to have relationships with people that frankly don't care if I'm a member of Congress, and they don't.
Right.
And those are the special relationships. That's actually, I think, what makes East Texas unique is people who actually don't care. We see each other as individuals, but I do think it surprises them, folks, from time to time when they see me in the grocery store. Maybe it's somebody I haven't met, and they'll stop me and
do a little double take.
Yeah, they'll do a little double take. I'll be in my shorts and my T-shirt,
Wait a minute.
and they'll wonder what I'm doing grocery shopping. And I'll say, "Oh, I like to stay married. That's why I'm grocery shopping on a Saturday." And,
I love that.
2 Saturdays ago, I think I made 4 trips to the grocery store before I got it right. And I don't know if there's any other husbands out there that have been down that situation where they didn't get it right the first 3 times. And so I said, "No problem, honey. I'll go back to the grocery store, and I promise to come back with everything you need."
So you have a list. I've gotten to the point where I have to send my husband a picture of the item that he's like, I don't know where this is, what it is, and then I get the picture and send it to him, and then he finally finds it.
That's exactly what happens in our house. Is I need a picture, and even with a picture, sometimes I got to call from the store and say, "I'm looking at the row where you told me to go," and she'll tell me where exactly it is on the row, and then I finally find it.
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. It's like when you tell someone to pick up cream cheese and they're in the cheese section, but they're not in the dairy section, and it's kind of throwing you all off.
That's right.
You mentioned that you felt like a little bit of a fish out of water in Washington, D.C. Has it been like a big culture shock? What is the big difference? I mean, obviously bigger city and everything else, but walk me through that.
Well, the reason why I say I feel like a fish out of water is because there's a lot of people there that all they're really interested in is power. That's really all that drives them, and that's totally different from the perspective I come at it with. I really want to go serve for a while, and then I want to come back home. I miss being at home with my kiddos. I got a little 9 and 10-year-olds still at home, and missing a whole lot of soccer games, a whole lot of twirling, and a whole lot of school functions that I would rather be a part of. And so one of these days, when my short time of service is over, I'll come home. I don't see that as an opportunity. I'm not looking at to gain more power. It's about how can I empower people back in East Texas.
Right.
That's what it's really about. And so when you get up there among people that are very selfish in their motives, you kind of feel like a fish out of water. You say, this is not the East Texas way. East Texans actually look out for their neighbors. They're more concerned about how to benefit somebody else and benefit themselves. That's what America, I think, is really about. That's what I like promoting in D.C.
That reminds me of like a quote where it's, you don't just look to see if your neighbor's plate is full, but to make sure that they have plenty, or more, not more than you, but they have plenty to eat, maybe even more. I can't remember the quote, but you get the idea. You're looking out for someone else versus looking at your plate.
You put others first.
Yes.
It's an easy rule, and in East Texas, the families here do that day in and day out, little ways that never go recognized. One of the things I love about the team that I have, both in D.C. and here in the district, is that we look every week to find special people to recognize that are not making the news. It's just something that we find out about, that's just a special point of service or recognition that we can send a little letter and say, way to go, we're so proud of you. We want you to be recognized in that moment when you didn't think you were going to be recognized, and you still you achieved something great, or you did something great for somebody else.
Does it deflate you at all to see people in Washington searching for power rather than wanting to help their fellow man? Does it deflate you at all?
I never get deflated. I'm a
Okay.
guy that's a glass half full kind of guy. I'm very hopeful and very positive no matter what comes during the day. I think that we still have to continue to have hope in America and press forward. I feel badly for them because they're missing the true essence of life. They're missing the true meaning of life. And they're missing an opportunity to use that position
Right.
to help other people. And at the end of the day, one of these days, we're all going to be out of Congress, all going to be out of office, and people quickly will forget you and your name, and that's the way it should be. But the things that we do will live on. The things that we do impactfully for our community will hopefully perpetuate, and that's the true meaning of what we should be doing up there.
Right. Absolutely. Now, I want to talk about how you got started in politics already. You started off as a Tyler City Council member,
Yeah.
went on to be a county judge, and now look at you. But what led you to get into politics? Was politics already on your mind as a city councilman, or was it something that just kept pushing you forward?
In the fourth grade.
Okay.
By the fourth grade, I can tell you, at least by the fourth grade, but in the fourth grade, I knew deep in my heart that I wanted to run for office, that I wanted to serve in a public policy position, that I wanted to actually solve problems and engage people, build relationships. I love relationship building. I think there's something special and unique about every person. And when we meet somebody in our life, you either see them with that uniqueness and that speciality and that purpose that God built them with, or you see the negative or the differences. And I tend to want to find where do we have consensus and where can we build bridges and how can we support and encourage somebody. So that's been me from a little bitty kid. And luckily I got a chance to run for city council I guess it's been 21 years ago, and had a chance to serve just at the local level and figured out pretty quickly I love to problem solve and to take the extra time to actually go out and make a difference in somebody's life. And that's what I want to do now at the federal level.
I want to walk back even further because I was, doing some research, digging and see what fun questions I can ask you.
Yeah.
West Point, I did not anticipate that to be in your past. Tell me about your time there and what got you there and what made you choose to go to Texas A&M afterwards?
Texas Tech.
Excuse me,
afterwards.
I
I
apologize.
love the Aggies, but I spent my last couple of years at Texas Tech after I left West Point. But
So let's start with West Point. Why West Point?
yeah, because it really suited me. Actually, when I was probably a sophomore or junior in high school, my counselor came to me and said, "Have you ever considered going to a military academy?" I had never considered that. I did, and I loved every minute of it. Those 2 years there really shaped me. They helped build in me this desire to be a never quit, no excuse leader. We quickly had to learn at West Point as freshmen that we only had 3 correct responses, and that was yes sir, and no excuse sir. And when you're presented with a problem, when you're presented with a situation that needs to be fixed, you cannot be a person that wants to blame other people or put obstacles in the way and say, well, it was just too hard to get done. You've got to learn to figure out how to be a no excuse, never quit leader. And West Point helped teach that to me. And so I knew I wanted to go to law school, ended up switching course and going the civilian track through Texas Tech to get a Russian degree, which I started at West Point, and then I got an MBA and followed up with law school.
Why Russian language? What is it? It's not a pleasant sounding.
No, well, it's a beautiful language, but really it was a Russian language and area studies course. And learning the history, the culture, the politics, the music, the language of that culture, I thought it was important to me to learn about our adversary, one of our major adversaries. And remember, back in the early 90s, we were just coming out of the breakup of the Soviet Union, but they were still and had for many years been our adversary in a lot of ways. And I looked to the future and say, I really want to understand our adversary. And today, that knowledge really is very helpful in Congress.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Can you still speak any Russian?
Oh no! If I try to speak Russian now, I mean I can speak a couple sentences, but if I try to speak Russian now, I end up in Spanish. That's really what it'll end up doing. I've kind of have this English and non-English side of my brain. So if I start speaking Russian now,
It's just gonna.
you can imagine I was fluent in '97 when I graduated with that Russian degree. But you can imagine there's nobody or hardly anybody in East Texas that speaks Russian. So after years of not speaking it has gotten me very rusty, very rusty.
So, I'm thinking back of that time frame because I feel like a lot of movies kind of help navigate our interests. What was the movie that
Oh,
was
yeah.
like Russia's the bad guy? Because we had a lot of those in the 80s.
Oh well, you can.
Was it Red Dawn? No.
Red Dawn is a great one.
Yeah.
You can also point to The Hunt for Red October, one of my favorite movies
Yes.
of all time. But Red Dawn's a great movie. Patrick Swayze was fantastic in that movie. You can look at War Games.
Yeah.
That was another one with Matthew Broderick, which is another movie today. I told my staff the other day, I said, you guys, have you heard of this movie War Games? Because we do a lot of artificial intelligence policy work in Congress.
Yeah.
And my staff, all of whom are under 30, said, no, we've never even heard of that. I'm like, you need to go watch it because early on in the 80s, they already predicted all this was going to happen. And so let's go back and watch that movie.
I think that's interesting. Okay, cool. All right, I want to go now to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me about Texas Tech because I know at some point you met your wife in all of this, right?
That's right.
Tell me about
that.
it.
That was when I transferred to Texas Tech. About a semester after that, she came along in '96, and we met at a little Bible study. So I was teaching a Bible study, and she happened to be part of this small group that joined in as a freshman. And so over the course of the next year, we ended up spending a whole lot of time together in our little Christian organization. And then before you knew it, we were going to church together, and she was involved with somebody else, and we started driving back and forth to church together, and then having lunch together on Sundays, and then I started helping with homework, and then I joined the choir so I could spend more time with her, and then before you knew it, we were dating, and the rest is history. We're now almost 27 years into marriage, 4 kids, and it's been a fabulous ride. But
So could you sing? Could you carry a tune, or was it just strictly to be around?
oh no,
more?
I couldn't carry a tune. The only reason I was in that choir was
Yeah.
to stand by her. I mean, it was pretty obvious. I was the only guy under about 60 in that choir, and I couldn't sing, and everybody knew that I was there. And the great thing for me was all the people running the choir knew it, so they would try to get
I
me as
love
close
it.
to her as possible during the choir practice, and so it worked out.
I love it when like the room knows, and there's like a little like inside information where it's like, let's get them closer.
That's right.
I love
that
it.
was exactly
Let's everyone
what was
team
going on.
up now. You two.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh goodness. Okay, you've brought up God quite a bit, and I want to go back to kind of how like your parents actually got you here to East Texas, because it was them. They traveled here,
Yeah,
and
that's
they
right.
walk me through that because they had a big part in religion as well.
They did. They helped to start a Bible college. It's not here now. It was in Southern Smith County for about 8 or 10 years, and it was called East Texas Bible College. And my dad was tasked by a minister that he was working with to come to East Texas and to find some property that they could purchase, and they could start this Bible college and this ministry. And so he did. In fact, I look back on my dad's calendars when he passed away. He had all those old paper calendars, and July 2nd in 1976 it says purchase Bible College property, and that was the day that they closed on that property. And my parents bought a little trailer home, and we moved onto that property with a bunch of other families. And that's where I grew up from age 2 to 10, was right there amongst the Bible college kids and running around in the woods and probably doing a whole lot of stuff I shouldn't have, shooting at my brother with BB gun
guns.
and shooting at snakes with BB guns. And
That's a true East Texas raising. Right
trying
there.
to, and one of the stories my kids love,
Yes.
they love hearing my stories at night before they go to bed, is trying to dig my way to China from that place and getting about 3 feet in the ground and realizing it probably wasn't going to happen as a young little kid. And
Hitting
then
that red clay that you can't get past.
that's right. They've heard about all the times I broke my arm out there, and they heard about when my brother tried to stomp on some wasp and stirred up a whole hornet's nest and got bit all over. And we still have the big nest in my mom's house, and so all those great stories of adventure. They're the stories that East Texans still today, I think, are experiencing and inspired by, and that freedom to just explore and to risk and to fail and to fall and to learn through those processes. I think that's what really helped me develop into a guy that's willing to take risk and willing to fall flat on my face in order to achieve a goal. But my parents also. And believe me, I've fallen flat on my face a number of times. I tell my daughter and my son all the time, my two oldest, don't be afraid to fail. Can't be afraid to fail. But I also learned during that time that service to others was important. My parents didn't have much, but they always served and gave to others. And seeing that giving firsthand, that's what I wanted to do with my life.
How important is it to you that your children grow up with almost very similar surroundings as you did, because you have your family's still here in White House, right? Yeah. Is it important to you that they still have that same kind of grounded experience?
Yeah, it is. I live just on the south side of Tyler. I got a Tyler address, but my kids go to White House schools.
Okay.
But I live probably about 4 minutes from where I grew up on that little campus, and my mom still lives in White House in the home that we moved to when I was 10. It's really special. The other day this past semester, I went back to the elementary school that I went to kindergarten at, and it's now called Kane Elementary School.
Okay.
And the fun thing is Gus Kane was my principal when I was just a little twerp. He wore my backside out a number of times, and so I got to go back and talk to those little kiddos and give them little challenge coins to remind them that God made them for a special purpose, but then also to say, you know what? I ate lunch in this same lunchroom that we're talking in, and I walked these same halls as a little 6-year-old many decades ago. And you can live out your dream. You can do the thing that you want to do in this world, and that's what I want for the families in East Texas. I want their kids to be able to dream big,
right,
and to be able to find those dreams.
Yes.
And every kid has a dream in their life, and we want to get out of the way and let them accomplish it.
Okay, you had me going there because that one got me. What is something you want East Texas to remember you from? Whether it's, your time as a congressman, your time as a council member, or just a deacon at your church. What is something that you want them to take away about you?
I want them to know that I'm authentic. I want to always behave authentically, and I want them to say he was a guy that served us, not himself, at the end of the day. Because the decisions that we make in Washington, D.C., as we cast these votes, I'll be the first one to admit I don't always get the votes right. We do our best.
Right.
Sometimes you have limited information. Sometimes you have a short time frame to make these decisions. Sometimes the decisions are really close because there's not a perfect bill that comes through Congress generally, especially the big ones. There's always things about those bills that may not be exactly as I want them, but you've got to decide, does this bring us closer to liberty? Does it increase liberty? Does it increase abundancy of life? I think those are the goals of a conservative, is to increase liberty and abundancy of life. If they do, okay, let's march down that road.
Right.
But if they don't, then let's vote against it. Sometimes those votes don't happen probably perfectly for me, but I want people to always know that I'm trying to do my best to study hard, to know the issues, and to vote according to moral principles, constitutional principles, and the preferences of East Texans.
Is there something that you started off with, like a mindset about working in Washington, D.C., and then once you got there, you experienced some things, you're like, it wasn't quite as what I imagined it would be? Is there any instance like that for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to circumvent people that are selfish because The people there are everybody, all 435 members of the House, not everybody, but the majority of them are hardworking and they're smart. And so even if they disagree with you, they're going to work really hard to beat you, or they're going to be smart in their strategy. So they're going to put both of those on the table. Generally, that's how you can get things done with folks. Is sometimes folks are either not going to work as hard as you, or they're not going to study as hard and not be up on the issues. But the folks in D.C. do that. So when you're trying to get around somebody that has a selfish motive, it takes a lot longer and a lot more work. That's number one. Number two is I'm always surprised by the chasm of information that I see on TV, like at the national channels. Certainly
Yes.
not the local channels. Certainly not.
That's right.
That's right. But you know, the national news typically talks about the things that will stir our emotions to either fear or frustration or anger. And they do that because it brings viewers back. And I caution people, if you're getting stirred to fear, frustration, or anger, don't keep watching that same program, because they're doing that only to drive up viewership and to drive up advertising for that particular channel. And they do it on both sides. Right and left does it. So it becomes a lot harder to come back and communicate the actual important work that we're doing in D.C. when all that's on the news generally is the sensational.
Has there been anything that surprised you?
So in a good way, what surprised me is there's a lot of great men and women up there that are good-hearted, that are trying to do the right thing, and they've got so I've got a great Bible study group that we meet with every Thursday. I can tell you there's lots of prayer that happens in the speaker's conference room. I can assure you of that. It's private prayer. There's never any media attention to it, but I can assure you that there is prayer that goes on frequently up there, which gives me hope. Gives me great hope that there are men and women that will do the right thing when it comes right down to it. If they got to put their selfish motives, or if they got to put their self-promotion aside, they're willing to do it. There's about 15% on each side that don't. They're all in for themselves and that's it. But there's a good group of people that really want what's best. We may disagree on how to get there, but they want what's best for America.
I really enjoy that. I really enjoy your take on it all, because again, we're only seeing what's happening on the screen or on the phone. It's nice to hear someone kind of take it in and kind of explain it in a way where you can see it in your mind. But I also want to go back to, you mentioned that you're not getting to go to as much twirling events or soccer events. How do you show up for your kids the same way you try to show up for not only East Texas, but the country?
Well, right now it's near impossible to be able to do that to the degree that I want to, because I spend about 3 out of every 4 weeks in Washington, D.C., and even the weeks that I'm home, very busy trying to cover the 17 county district. So a lot of evenings I'm still not home during those times. I am home on most weekends, and particularly on Sunday. We set aside Sunday as the day for our family, where we can be together in church. We can worship together. We can spend time together. Yesterday we played a game of Sorry. We made some banana nut bread together. I love to bake, so me and my daughter did that together yesterday. Those moments help to keep us together. But what also keeps us together is them understanding that what we're doing in Washington, D.C. has significance for their future, number one. And then number two, they know it's just for a time, just for a season. Right now, I can't give them all the time that I want to, but this season of service will not be forever. It's not intended to be forever. Our founding fathers didn't want politicians to go up there and to serve out, forever until they die.
Right.
So that's not my intention. I want to go serve for a while. I want to come back. I want to be back with my family. I want to raise my kiddos so that they can find a way to serve too.
How has this affected your relationship with your wife?
Yeah, it's tough. Transparently, and with my kids too. You asked about my kids. I think transparently, my wife would even echo and say it's just really hard when you're having to try to reintegrate every weekend, but knowing that by the time you reintegrate into the family,
you're off again.
You're off again, and that becomes really hard, especially when you're You still got things, texts coming in, calls coming in, conferences happening, speeches to give on the weekends, and then you're gone. And so my kiddos, when you go through a number of weeks like that together, you can feel the need to set aside some great quality time, because it begins to affect them, begins to affect the marriage relationship. There's no question about that. So you have to set aside dedicated time to reinvest and to reinvigorate and get everybody back on course together.
And that's why you're going to the grocery store 4 times
That's
on one
why
Saturday.
I'm going to the grocery store. That's also why I can tell you this. The other secret is the other secret to keeping my wife real happy is grilling up a bunch of chicken and steak about once a month.
Yeah.
And then freeze locking that and putting it in the freezer so that when I'm not home during the week, she can just pull that out and there's some well done protein to help with dinner. So that's one of the things I've promised her, is I won't let her run out of that stuff in the freezer. By the way, it's about time for me to do that, so that may be happening pretty quickly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I think it's so important, again, to kind of take away the title of someone's, occupation or what have you, and just remind everyone that we're all human.
That's right. We are, and we're here to serve each other and serve God.